Today, I shall be chatting about mindset, not set. So this is me in 2014. I was 20 kilograms heavier and I was obsessed with food. Whether it was the burnt piece of toast in the toaster or the underdone chicken in the oven, I would eat it all. And I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with the way I looked, and I really wasn't happy with my weight. So I decided to do what I assume most people do in this position. I Googled looking for some kind of quick fix, something that could shed the kilograms and the calories off me instantly. But Google sucked. They told me I needed to eat better. I was in res, so that wasn't a possibility. And they told me I needed to exercise. So in 2014, I joined a gym. Majority of my friends had been going to gym for years. So I thought it was about time that I hopped on board the bandwagon. So I was motivated, I was keen, I was pretty eager to try on the new tackies I had bought. And I went with my friends one day and I walked through the doors of the gym. And I headed straight towards something I recognized, something I'd heard my friends talk about, something I'd seen in the movies. It was the treadmill. So I decided to hop on this thing. I was feeling confident, guys, and I put the speed up to 10 and I ran. And that was a little bit too ambitious, so I turned it down to 7.5 and I ran. And I ran, and I ran, and about 9.5 minutes later, I was done. I had sweat, I had a stitch, I was out of breath. That was a sufficient workout, wasn't it? So I go up to my friends and I'm like, guys, I'm ready to go home now, I am done. And they were shocked. They were shocked and amazed with the speed of my workouts. And it wasn't because I was running on 7.5. So I carried on doing this 10-minute workouts for the next 3 months, and weight just began to fly off me. And my friends, once again, they were shocked and they were amazed. One of them even went so far as to say that maybe exercise is a placebo, but we all just laughed it off because that's ridiculous. But as I lay in bed that night, I began to think, what if exercise is a placebo? Now, okay, yes, that's a crazy concept. Apologies to everyone who's a big gym fan. So let's break the concept down. Now, what is a placebo? A placebo is anything that seems to be real, but is not. So this was a really harsh concept considering my newfound exercise regime, but an interesting one nonetheless. So I'd always been familiar with placebo in a medical sphere. I remember one of my favorite medical studies was actually a case study done by Dr. Benedetti and his Italian researchers in Italy. They were essentially studying a bunch of thoracic surgery recovery patients. Now, what you need to know about thoracic surgery is it's a very invasive procedure. Incisions are made to your sides and your muscles in order to get to your heart and lungs. Now, it's a very painful procedure, so you're under anesthetic majority of the time. And 1 hour after this anesthesia wears off, patients are given morphine. So this is routine treatment. So Dr. Benedetti and his researchers decided they would tweak this routine treatment and see what they could find. So they first started by dividing the patients into 2 groups, Group A and Group B. Group A would be given the morphine by a doctor at their bedside, where Group B would be given it through a pre-programmed IV pump. They would essentially be unaware that they were receiving the morphine. So logically speaking, these 2 groups would receive the same kind of effect as they had received the same dosage at the same time for the same treatment. However, this is not the case. The first group, who had had it administered by a doctor at their bedside, had a significant reduction in their pain levels, where Group B, the morphine was ineffective, completely ineffective. And this is a really interesting concept. This gives us the concept that those who were aware that they were receiving a treatment received the benefits, yet those who were not aware that they were receiving the treatment did not receive the benefits. So this is what we call the placebo effect. Now, majority of people think the placebo effect is the fake pill or the fake procedure, however, it is not. The placebo effect is actually the powerful demonstration of the ability of our mindsets. In this case, our body's expectations to heal. So what exactly is a mindset? A mindset is quite literally a setting of the mind. It is a lens or frame through which we view the world. Now, I know this was a medical example. However, it gives us the question, how far can mindsets go? So back to my original question. Could exercise be a placebo? Could I have been losing weight, getting fitter, and getting stronger purely because I felt like I should? I decided I need to research this concept further, and I found a woman called Dr. ALIA CRUM who was very interested with the concept of exercise and placebo herself. So she had one study where she looked at it at an angle of, what if individuals were receiving an extraordinary amount of exercise but they weren't aware of it? Would they receive the same benefits? So she looked at a very unique individual group of women. It was 84 housekeepers in 7 hotels across the United States. Now, the interesting thing about this was majority of these 84 women felt like they hardly ever exercised and their job wasn't a form of exercise. However, interestingly, 2 out of 3 claimed their work was not a form of exercise, where 1 out of 3 claimed they did not exercise at all. However, as these individuals were housekeepers and spent majority of the day on their feet, using an extraordinary amount of muscles and burning an extraordinary amount of calories, they were in fact exercising. For example, look here, just changing linen for 15 minutes burns 40 calories. For vacuuming for 15 minutes burns 50 calories. And cleaning bathrooms for 15 minutes burns 60 calories. So what does this tell us? This tells us that it was simply the housekeepers' mindsets that made them feel like they were not exercising. So Dr. ALIA CRUM thought, how could we change these mindsets? So she started off by dividing the housekeepers into 2 groups, Group A and Group B, where both groups had a measurement of their weight, their blood pressure, their body fat, and even their job satisfaction. Group A were completely left to their own devices, unaware of what the study was about, where Group B were given a 15-minute presentation. Within this presentation, they were informed that their work was actually great exercise and they should be receiving the benefits. Their work even went so far as to satisfy the general surgeon's requirement, which is to accumulate 30 minutes of moderate physical activity a day. So, a month later, they were measured. Group A, there was minimal change, nothing worth putting in this PowerPoint. But Group B, there was a weight loss across the board. There was a drop in blood pressure across the board. There was a drop in body fat across the board, and there was even an increase in job satisfaction. So what can this tell us? Just a simple 15-minute presentation that didn't shift their behavior, but simply shifted their mindset, had such an immense effect on their health and their well-being. So this causes us to ask this question. Is there a direct and immediate connection to our mindsets and our bodies? I obviously had to do just a little bit more research, and I found a 3rd case study by Kelly BROWNWELL and Peter Salmon. These were 2 researchers who essentially just made a big batch of milkshakes. They handed a bunch of flyers out to Yale students with the incentive of $75 and milkshakes, but the only downside was that they needed to be hooked up to an IV. Now, the reason for the IV was to measure their ghrelin levels. Now, ghrelin is a peptide which is secreted in the stomach, and it's also known as the hunger hormone. So just a quick little bio lesson. When we are hungry, our ghrelin levels increase, signaling to our brain that we need to find food, and our metabolism slows down just in case we don't. Where on the other hand, when we are full, our ghrelin levels go down and our metabolism goes up as we have had a sufficient amount of food and it's time to stop eating. So, in the first week of the study, the participants were given a Sensi shake. Now, a Sensi shake is essentially a health shake. This is guilt-free satisfaction. This is 0% fat, 0 added sugar, and only 140 calories. Where in the second week, this was the real deal. This was 620 calorie decadent indulgence shake, 30 grams of fat, 56 grams of sugar. This is the decadent indulgence everyone but the 2014 Tara deserved. So then we learned. Next, we look at the ghrelin levels, as that's what they were obviously observing. In week 1, as they had only consumed 140 calories, not much, there was a slight drop in their ghrelin levels. However, in week 2, as they had something more significant, something with a lot more calories, there was a much steeper drop in their ghrelin levels. But obviously, there was a catch. Over the 2 weeks, they were drinking exactly the same milkshakes, which is just mind-blowing about the mindsets and what we assume. So this prompts us to say that it's not just calories in or calories out or the precise makeup of nutrients and fats that we drink, but rather what we believe, what we think, what we expect about the food that actually determines our body's response. So I know I've probably blown your mindsets, but consider your own life. What are your mindsets? How could you alter them? How could you change them to be more beneficial? So, although I've given you 3 very different case studies, 3 very different contexts, my message is the same. Our mindsets matter. And I'm not standing in front of you saying that exercise doesn't matter, eating well doesn't matter, and medicine doesn't work. No, I'm simply saying there is so much potential in our mindsets. Am I saying that our mindsets are limitless? 110% not. I'm simply telling you and encouraging you to use all this information to see how beneficial our mindsets can be and how we can just change them in the blink of an eye for them to be more beneficial to our well-being and our lifestyles. Thank you.